Hello students, my name is Arshan and today we'll do the 17th chapter from your class 7 science NCERT textbook, and the name of the chapter is Forest, a Lifeline, part 1. So students, in ancient times we used to live in forest. It met all our requirements for leading a normal life. Now at that time it was very much normal. But in today's day and age, we live in cities and towns that are far off from forest. So we really do not know the importance of forest in our life. It is a natural renewable resource, a habitat that is home to many forms of wildlife. There are many forms of wildlife in the forest like bear, bison, jackal, deer, porcupine, elephant, etc. And students, there are many types of trees as well, like sal, teak, semal, shisham, neem, palash, etc. etc. So, the forest contains various types of trees and various types of insects also, like butterflies, honeybees, and birds also. So, these type of insects also help in pollination of the flowering plants in the forest as well. So, let us talk about the structure of the forest first. Students, the plants that are trees, shrubs and herbs make different layers in the forest, which are described as follows. The first layer is the canopy layer. Now canopy is the uppermost branches and leaves of tall trees which act as a roof over the forest ground. It is the highest layer of vegetation in the forest. The branch part of a tree above the stem is known as the crown of the tree. Now let us talk about the second part of the forest, that is the understory. So students, the different horizontal layers formed due to different types of crowns in the forest is called understory. The constituents of understory can be described as follows. The first one, that is the top layer. It constitutes the giant and tall trees followed by shrubs and tall grasses. Number 2, shrub layer. It has many shrubs and bushes of approximately 1 to 2 meters of height from the forest floor. It makes dense layer at some places of forest where enough sunlight is present. Then third, herb layer. Now herb layer is just below the shrub layer. It is the lowest part of vegetation in forest. Now most of the plants in herb layer have very short lifespan. Then the fourth part, that is the forest floor plants. So students, in this floor part, the forest plants are found here. They are as small as mosses, liverworts, lichens. It has many kinds of insects also, and worms, toadstool, etc. Most of the forest floor is covered with dead and decaying plant matter and also animal waste. So students, this was about the structure of the forest. Now let us talk about the components of the forest as well. The living organisms found in the forest are plants, animals, decomposers and scavengers. And the non-living environment of the forest provides nutrients, water and carbon dioxide for the growth of the plants. So let us first talk about the plants. So students, green plants are living organisms that are also called autotrophs, as they can produce food by photosynthesis. Now we all know what is photosynthesis. It is the absorbing of nutrients and water from soil and carbon dioxide from air, and in the presence of sunlight producing starch for energy. Now these autotrophs or plants, they provide food to all living organisms which live in the forest. Hence they are called producers. So students, while we are talking about the components of the forest, that is the plants, and we have also talked about the structure of the forest, let us perform this small activity, that is activity 17.1. So in this activity, we have to observe the various things in our home and we have to make a list of those which are made from material which may have been obtained from forest. For example, I can give you a hint also that matchsticks, it is made up of wood and wood is procured from forest. So let us move forward with our chapter and talk about the second component of the forest, that is animals. So students, forests have many animals and they are called consumers of food. The animals which eat only plants, they are called herbivores, whereas the flesh-eating animals are called carnivores. All animals are called heterotrophs, because they are dependent for their food on other organisms. Then comes the third component of the forest, that is decomposers. Now students, mostly these organisms are microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. They feed on dead plants and animals and thus are called saprotrophs. These organisms are also called the decomposers as they break down dead parts of plants and dead bodies of animals into simple substances. They also play a very important role in sustaining the forest. And students, the fourth component of the forest is scavenger. Now those animals which eat dead animals are called scavengers. For example, vultures, crows, jackals, hyena, some insects like ants, beetles, termites, woodlice, maggots, millipedes and earthworms, etc. Scavengers are the cleaning agents of our environment. But these are not decomposers as they do not break down complex dead organic matter into simple ones. So students, with this we have talked about the four components of forest. Let us perform another activity, that is activity 17.2 to increase our knowledge. Activity 17.2. Visit a forest or a park in your neighborhood, observe the trees and try to identify them. You can take the help of some elders or books on trees and list the characteristics of the trees that you observe, such as the height, shape of leaves, crown, flowers and fruits. Also draw the crowns of some trees. So students, do perform this activity. It is very interesting indeed. Now moving forward with our chapter, we are on to the topic of importance of forest. So the forest provide us with a large number of products. They also purify air and water quality and they maintain soil moisture and climate also. That is why students, they are called lifeline. So let us learn further. Now forests provide many useful products. The various things which are obtained from the forest are called forest products. Now forest gives us a large number of useful products. Some of the important products which we get from the forest are wood, honey, gum, sealing wax or lac, katechu or katha that we call in Hindi, fruits, oils, spices, natural rubber, cork, dyes, medicinal plants and fodder for cattle as well. Perhaps the most important product obtained from forest is the wood, which is obtained by cutting down the forest trees. And the wood obtained from forest is used for a large number of purposes in our day-to-day life. Also students, forests maintain balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now plants in the forest release oxygen during photosynthesis. This provides all animals, including us, the humans, with oxygen to breathe and helps to maintain the ratio of oxygen to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That is why students, forests are called green lungs. Now if the amount of carbon dioxide increases in the atmosphere, it will result in an increase in Earth's temperature, and plants in the forest intake carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis. Hence, they help to maintain the right amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Moving on to the another point, that is the importance of forest. The forests maintain water cycle students. The forest trees suck water from the soil through their roots and they release water vapor into the air through transpiration. Now this water vapor helps in the formation of clouds and bring rain on earth. Thus, forest brings sufficient rainfall on the earth. In fact, about half the rain which falls in the forest areas comes from the transpiration of forest trees themselves. In this way, forest helps in maintaining a perfect water cycle in nature and meet our freshwater requirements as well. Then students, forests prevent occurrence of floods also. The forest acts as a natural absorber of rainwater and allows it to seep. It helps to maintain the water table throughout the year. Forest not only helps in controlling floods, but they also help to maintain the flow of water in the streams so that we get a steady supply of water. On the other hand, if trees are not present, rain hits the ground directly and may flood the area around it. Now heavy rain may also damage the soil. Roots of trees normally bind the soil together, but in their absence, the soil is washed away or eroded. The different kinds of plants grow together in the forest, making different levels of layers and habitat for wild animals. In the absence of plants, trees, the soil will not hold water, which will cause flood and erosion. So students, with this, we are almost at the end of our chapter. Now what have we learned? In this chapter, we have learned a lot of things. We learned that we get various products from the forest surrounding us. We learned that forest is a system comprising various plants, animals and microorganisms. In a forest, trees form the uppermost layer, followed by shrubs, and the herbs form the lowest layer of vegetation. We also learned that different layers of vegetation provide food and shelter for animals, birds and insects. Also, the various components of the forest are interdependent on one another. We got to know about the forest system, which comprises of various plants, animals and microorganisms. With this student, we are at the exercise part. So let us perform these exercise questions and enhance our knowledge. So the first question is, explain how forests prevent floods. So students, in this chapter we have learned that forest can absorb a lot of water and the roots of the trees absorb the water and prevent it from flowing away. Roots of trees also help in percolation of water into the soil. This helps in preventing floods. Then moving on to the second question students, that is, what are decomposers? Name any two of them and what do they do in the forest? So students, decomposers are the organisms which feed on the dead bodies of plants and animals. They clean the forest, decaying dead bodies and replenishing the nutrients back to the forest. Soil, example beetles and grubs. Now students, moving on to the third question, that is, explain the role of forest in maintaining the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So students, plants release oxygen in the atmosphere during the process of photosynthesis. This oxygen is inhaled by the animals for respiration. Now during respiration, they release carbon dioxide, which is absorbed by plants. In this way, the oxygen and carbon dioxide cycle goes on. Since forests contain a large number of plants, they help much in this cycle and maintain a balance in nature. Moving on to the fourth question students, that is, list 5 products we get from forest. So students, a list of products that we get from forest is, first is medicines, second is gum, we get gum from forest, third is wood, we get wood which is used for many purposes like making furniture, paper, etc. Fourth is we get food for animals from the forest, and fifth is we get sealing wax from the forest. Moving on to another question students, that is, which of the following is not a forest product? First is gum, second is plywood, third is sealing wax and fourth is kerosene. So students, in this list we know that the fourth one, kerosene, is not a forest product. Then moving on to another question, that is, which of the following statement is not correct? So students, the first statement is, forest protect the soil from erosion. So this is correct. Second is, plants and animals in a forest are not dependent on one another. So students, this statement is not correct. They are dependent on one another. Third one is, forest influence the climate and water cycle. This is correct. And fourth one is, soil helps forest to grow and regenerate. This one is also correct. So students, with this we are at the end of our chapter. I am sure you might have enjoyed this chapter. Try to perform these activities at your home with the help of your parents or your teachers. Also try to perform all these exercises question into your notebook. It will help you. We will meet next time with some other interesting chapter. Till then, bye bye.